when I was doing my devotions the next morning, I was in Matthew 9 and read that famous verse, of course, the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. Pray that the Lord of the harvest would send forth workers. And so when we started, when I talked with Benita after that, she said, yeah, it doesn't say pray that Benita or Tony will send forth workers, but that the Lord of the harvest would send forth workers. So maybe we need to pray.
Hello, friend. We're glad you're here today to join us on Galcom's Mission Compass, your guide to the Great Commission. I'm Ron Harris. What does it take to be a missionary today? Well, it may take someone just like you, with the unique skills and abilities God gave you to do your part in the Great Commission. And here's your host, Galcom's Tim Whitehead, to tell you more.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, friends, for joining us here again on the Mission Compass. Before we get into the program, I want to just offer something to you, maybe a little bit of help with this Christmas season. I wrote a book called Love Personified about my challenge of someone that's supposed to be sharing the Great Commission, like all of us are as Christians, but not loving people enough to really go out and do it. And so I really struggled with this, and this process has helped me a bit, and maybe it'll help you. So if you make a gift to Galcom this month here in December, we'll give you the gift of the book, Love Personified, for free as a thank you to you. So you make a gift to Galcom. Well, it's not really to Galcom, it's through Galcom. We're going to send those funds. We're going to turn it into a solar-powered fixed-tune radio or maybe some radio equipment so one of our partners around the world can share the gospel with somebody else. You're going to get a book that you could re-gift to somebody else. So a gift to someone around the world of the gospel, a gift to a friend of yours, helping them in their faith. We better get into our program, Producer Brent. We got a wonderful program. Tony Vanderlaan joins us. Anything else?
We have a GNA report from Sam Ebersole.
And
if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit like and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode of The Mission Compass.
And let's start this week's program with the Reset Devotional for Bonnie Sala.
No matter what they say or do to me, I will not leave Christ. These are the words of a 33-year-old Albanian woman who knows what it means to pay a high price for faith in Jesus. I'm Bonnie Sala with Reset. When Teresina was a child, she suffered from fevers that left her physically disabled and unable to work. Home alone, she'd listen to the radio all day long. Teresina heard the gospel on a Christian radio station, and she gave her life to Jesus in secret, knowing that her family would never accept her decision. After her parents died, she went to live with her brother. Teresina's brother is violently against her faith and conversion to Christianity, and he blames her for the problems the family is facing, saying that she's brought a curse on the family for leaving her family religion. Now, he wants to force her into marriage and threatens to put her out of his home because he no longer wants to take care of a Christian. But the small solar radio that the radio station staff gave her is her lifeline to encouragement in God. And the radio station's counselors have walked with Teresina in friendship. Amazingly, Teresina says, I'm learning about forgiveness and how to honor God as we go through trials. I'm praying and fasting for the salvation of my brother. Teresina's favorite scripture verse is this: rejoice in our confident hope. Be patient in trouble and keep on praying. May we keep praying for women like Teresina, who suffer daily for their faith. Oh, that we would be bold enough to say with her, no matter what they say or do to me, I will not leave Christ. You can help encourage others like Teresina. Send devotionals like this to millions around the world in their own languages. Give a gift today at guidelines.org.
Well, friend, every month here on the Mission Compass, we visit with our very good friends at the Global News Alliance. Why? Well, number one is because they have some incredible stories of what God is doing around the world on their website, gna.news. We encourage you to go visit and be encouraged in your faith. But number two, we want to get you involved in being a smartphone reporter, capturing what God is doing in your neighborhood, in your community, your church, and being able to share with excellence. So to that end, Dr. Sam Ebersole, their Director of Training, joins us now. Sam, always great to visit with you.
Always great to be here. Thanks so much, Tim, for having me.
So where have your travels or your cohort of reporters been traveling to lately that they have some news for us?
Well, in this case, it was me. I got to
Hey, all
go
right.
to, Kigali, Rwanda for the AbR. AbR Media AbR used to stand for Africa by Radio, but they're broadening out a little bit. So AbR Media, they had a conference for media professionals and media practitioners from across the continent of Africa. There were other countries represented as well, but more than 150 attended from more than 30 African countries, which I didn't know how many African countries there were, so I had to look it up. It's
Huh.
something in the neighborhood of 45, so about 30 of them were at the
Good
conference.
representation.
And I was impressed by the number that they were able to pull in. And the largest contingent came from South Sudan. Now, I don't know how much your listeners know about the situation with South Sudan, but it is the youngest country, I believe, in the world,
It
but
is.
certainly in
Yep.
Africa. It
Yep.
is in the world. Okay. 14 years ago, they declared their independence from Sudan. And anyway, so Radio South Sudan is a ministry. A fellow by the name of Mike Wartney takes Galcom radio systems, basically suitcase radio, low power radios, over there, and he finds churches who commit to getting the license and commit to staffing the radio station. And he takes these
Omni
suitcases.
stations. We call them the Omni Station, all in one radio station from mic to antenna. Boom, you're on the air in
There,
10 minutes.
there you go. And very impressive what you guys have put together. He's taking those over and putting them in the hands and helping them set up for these churches or ministries that want to get involved. And they're broadcasting not only to their own people in South Sudan, but they're broadcasting to these refugee camps. And anyone who's been paying any attention to the news in the last couple of months knows that things have kind of gone from bad to worse.
Yeah.
You know, Sudan has been in turmoil for decades, but a lot of that's spilling over now, and refugees are moving in from Sudan into South Sudan and into Uganda and other places. So it's just a bad situation. But here are these committed Christians who want to broadcast the gospel. They want to broadcast information that these refugees need to find services, to find shelter and food. I just was so impressed by the group of broadcasters who Mike pulled together and brought them to this training seminar. And there were three groups involved in providing training. There was, Radio South Sudan itself, and then Sharing International, which is a ministry that has been involved in media training for a long time. And then Vision Africa out of Nigeria, Bishop Sunday, if you know who that is.
Yeah.
So they sent a couple of folks. And of course, Galcom was there doing technical training for a lot of folks at the same time and concurrent with the training that we were providing. And then GNA got to participate in that training as well with Sharing and Vision Africa. And we were bringing the component of, you do radio, but how can you use video to help support your radio ministry, whether it's social media or producing content that you can share on other platforms. So we were there in that capacity, but it's just wonderful meeting these dedicated and devoted broadcasters who were doing such a wonderful work there in South Sudan.
So did you do an official GNA report from the AbR conference?
We did, and that's not what I'm going to show you.
Oh, okay. Fine then.
I'm going to show you the unofficial one.
Hey,
No,
even
really.
better.
I put together a very quick turnaround about the conference itself. Now, since then, I've gone back and we did one that was more focused on Radio South Sudan, but this one is more generally about the conference. There is a soundbite from one of the Radio South Sudan broadcasters in this piece, but it's more about the conference in general. But anyone who goes to the GNA website or is a member of that, our media affiliates, will see the other report that's coming. So it'll basically be two slightly different versions.
So this is a Mission Compass exclusive, friends.
Exactly.
All right.
That's what I should have said, right?
Yeah.
That would really
Hey, that's very good.
it.
All right, let's see it, Sam.
In the Republic of Rwanda, "you are welcome" is a very common greeting. Welcome to Rwanda.
This small nation in East Africa was the site for the 8th Continental Media Conference, sponsored by AbR Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ethiopia!
Participants made their way from around the world and every corner of Africa, with nearly 30 African nations represented. The largest group came from Africa's youngest nation, one that gained independence just 14 years ago. Times of prayer and worship unified the nearly 200 participants as they called on God for direction, wisdom, and provision for their efforts to evangelize the continent.
Yeah, so how it comes from?
The keynote address was offered by the senior pastor overseeing the Pentecostal Church of Rwanda.
Yeah, that we are called to preach the good news. And also Christian media is a good tool and a strategy for the believers. The conference like this organized by AbR Radio Media, bringing together all different people in a Christian media network.
One of the attendees is Martin Peter, a program manager of a radio station serving Juba, the capital city of South Sudan. Martin and the other broadcasters see radio as a way to share the Word of God with many who cannot read.
I'm really willing that God will help me through that and to give the community and all people in South Sudan a very solid information, gospel of Jesus Christ that people will dwell in it perfectly.
For Global News Alliance, I am Sam Ebersole in Kigali, Rwanda.
Thank you, Sam, for that exclusive look there at the AbR Media Conference. Friends, if you want to see the video, not just listen to it, just visit their website, gna.news, and you can see the official version of it. It's good to see some familiar faces there, some of our partners that we've worked with. You were doing the training there just like you've been sharing with us. Every month you give us a little tip, a little trick. Obviously, you gave them the full, not just one little bit, but the whole full training. But do you have something for us, a little nugget that we can take away from us so we can be better witnesses?
Yeah, so I was reminded every time I go and provide teaching and training in these kind of settings and situations, I'm reminded of how much disparity there is in the world between access to certain kinds of services and infrastructure and technology. And you can probably imagine South Sudan is a difficult place to do anything, let alone create media content, audio and video. But even people in, I have 3 or 4 folks in Canada right now, in Western Canada, who are expressing interest in becoming smartphone reporters. And, they're also running into this problem of, well, I shoot video and now my phone is full. Now what do I do? So first world problems, third world problems. Video files are big. Audio has its own challenges. They're relatively bigger than still photos and bigger than text, but video is several times bigger than that in terms of space that they require, both storage space on your device, but also bandwidth for transmission, processing power for editing and that kind of thing. So all the little headaches that you have just adding audio on top of text, multiply that again with doing video. I sound like I'm not trying to recruit people. I am trying to recruit people. I do want people to pick up their smartphone and record and edit and upload. But just understand that there will be challenges. There will be challenges in terms of having sufficient storage space on your phone, and then having a phone with the capacity, that's new enough that it can do some of the hard work of processing that video content to allow you to edit, and then the bandwidth, whether you use Wi-Fi or cellular or what have you, to get that content uploaded someplace. And again, working with these folks from South Sudan, so willing, so sincere, so resourceful, but they're butting up against those challenges of working in a place where none of this comes easily.
Yeah. So I guess for us then, friends, the lesson is to invest in the technology, perhaps a little data bank, perhaps cloud storage services. There's a couple different ways around the storage issue. But this is why we love radio here at Galcom because, video is exponentially more space than the audio. So, but it's a great tool to have. Great to hear that we got some Canadian friends. I wonder if they heard about you here on the Mission Compass, and maybe that's what motivated them to become official GNA affiliates.
I'm also wondering, yeah. Well, and one little tip related to the space, when these gals from Western Canada, mentioned that, I said, if you get a little USB-C thumb drive, if your phone uses USB-C, for power and for charging and so forth, you can plug that in there and then move those video files off your phone onto that USB-C thumb drive, and then you can plug that into your laptop or desktop or what have you to edit or to upload or do whatever with those files. But yeah, if you just let everything build up and accumulate on your phone, whether it's emails or pictures or what have you, podcasts, you won't have space to do video. So you do have to think about keeping a neater desktop, if you will. If you have a messy desktop on your desk, your physical desk, sometimes on your phone, we have to do a little house cleaning every once in a while.
There we go. Great tip for us, friends. More tips, more information on becoming a cell phone reporter, gna.news, and to watch some of these incredible God stories from around the world, gna.news. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Well, friend, every week here on the Mission Compass, I plead with you to get involved in the Great Commission somehow, some way, that God has a place for you sharing your faith with your neighbors, coworkers, or maybe vocationally somewhere else around the world. And you're probably saying, Tim, I'm tired of hearing you say it. So I've got a friend here with us, Tony Vanderlaan, retired missionary from Avant. If you're not listening to me, hopefully you'll listen to Tony. Tony, great to have you with us here on the Mission Compass.
Thank you, Tim. It's good to be here.
So we first met when you were organizing mobilization trips. You'd get a whole bunch of different missionaries from different agencies, which I thought was pretty interesting. They're not just serving Avant. And you'd take us up Northern Ontario, out Eastern Canada, all over the place. What was the kind of the genesis of that idea of bringing all these missionaries together to visit churches to talk missions?
Well, it actually started when about a year after I was started mobilizing for Avant. And it was not going very well. So I met with another mobilizer from Crossworld, and we just talked about, what can we do to make people more interested in missions. And as we talked, we only had so much time. So then the next day we agreed to talk again. And when I was doing my devotions the next morning, I was in Matthew 9 and read that famous verse, of course, the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. Pray that the Lord of the harvest would send forth workers. And so when we started, when I talked with Benita after that, she said, yeah, it doesn't say pray that Benita or Tony will send forth workers, but that the Lord of the harvest would send forth workers. So maybe we need to pray. And so then we invited mobilizers all across Ontario. I think there was 45 letters that went out. 34 showed up the first day that we organized the day of prayer. And out of that, as we were praying for one another, we said, maybe we could even do trips together to save costs, first of all, and also to be able to promote missions on a global level, but not specifically me for Avant and you for Galcom and somebody else for Crossworld or whatever. So we went to these schools and we basically talked missions. We didn't talk our mission, we talked missions as God sees it in the world. And so that's how it got started.
Starting with prayer. What a great place to start.
Yeah.
And now what I really appreciate, we got back in touch with you and we found out now that you've written a book about your experiences coming to faith and in missions, Yet Not I, But Through Christ.
Right.
Tell us about why did you choose to write the book? Why now?
Actually, I was encouraged by my wife and some of my kids to write a book because we've had such a wonderful experience of Christ working through us throughout our lives. And, I thought it'd be good to have a legacy to pass on to my grandchildren, and they can pass it on to others. And so I started writing, and the result was this book.
And now you said you wrote it for your kids and grandkids. That's it, passing on that legacy, that desire. But I'm really glad that you're sharing it with a lot more people. Share maybe a highlight from the book just to whet our appetite of what, if someone says, I don't get missions. I don't know if I want to do missions. From one of your experiences of God coming through, as you've said yes in obedience to the Great Commission, it's been my experience that I've been blessed whenever I've obeyed. Is that, you got a story of
Mhm.
something like that?
Yeah, well, let me tell you my story uh, very quickly. In 1980, I would say I was born again. I mean, I grew up in the church and everything else, but I really didn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. But then in 1980, God placed someone in my heart who mentored me, and it changed my life forever. And I started taking correspondence courses with Moody Bible Institute, and God just laid it on both my heart and my wife's heart that we needed to get involved in missions. So we applied to 6 different mission organizations, and we got the same answer. Your family is your mission field. Stay at home and look after them.
Wow.
So this is in 1980, and that burden was on our hearts for the next 17 years. And nothing really happened. I mean, we explored different things, but uh, our family grew, and we had, by that time, we had 6 children, and we had 2 long-term adopted kids. And so, yeah, it, I guess what I'm trying to say is that if God calls you to something, he's going to send you. And he did. In 1996, we sold our farm. 97, we raised support. And in 1998, we went to Ecuador for 6 years as missionaries. So it's not our timing, it's God's timing. But if he calls you, you got to be ready to go.
Well said. Well said. So tell us about
Yes.
the time in Ecuador.
Uh, Ecuador was an interesting experience again. I was 45 at the time when I went. My wife was just a year under that, and learning the language, first of all, was brutal at that age. So we went to language school. We came home after the first year, which is usually a no-no, but we had 2 children graduating from college and university. And so the mission allowed us to go home for a year. And my pastor came up to me and said, Tony, you need to reconsider missions. Your wife's not happy.
Oh,
And I knew that, but it was just it was quite an experience for her the first year. I went to become the business administrator for our mission. She was a nurse, so she could do things, but she really didn't have a job. And learning the language, she got sick with amoebas the first year. And then, so all these things just worked against her. So I talked to her again. She said, "No, I want to finish our first term, which is 4 years." And so she said she was going to go back, but she had some medical problems, and so she stayed in Canada for the summer months while the kids were out of school, and I went back and went back to language school again. And while she was back, her best friend prayed for her and said, "Lord, give Clara something special when she comes back to Ecuador." And my wife said to her, "Why'd you pray that? There's nothing special in Ecuador." Well, when she got back to Ecuador, there was a call from an orphanage of a baby that was dying. Um, Doctors had already given up on her and had put her in isolation. And would we consider taking her into our home and letting her die with dignity? And so we prayed about that. And yeah, it's a long story. But, anyways, we eventually did take her into our home. She never died. She's 26 years old now. And just loves the Lord and serves the Lord. She has Down syndrome, so she has special needs, but yeah, it's amazing. So all those stories are part of my book.
I was about to say, please tell me that story's in the book, because this is a lot of the challenge. I know myself, and as we've talked to other people that have said yes to mission, there's some real big barriers. There's hurdles. It's difficult. You said you got to raise support. You mentioned you got to pick up your family and go. You have to sell the farm, language school, just practical issues. And then just the difficulty. It is not easy living in another culture and serving. And because you're serving, you're going to have opposition from our enemy.
Right.
How did you overcome those? Like you said, Clara was talking about just not wanting to go back, and I'm sure you had times of discouragement. What kept you going? What kept you staying there and serving?
Let's start right back to the beginning. Prayer.
Mm.
The prayer of God's people all around the world. We had people praying for Alicia, our daughter that we had adopted. We had people praying for Claire. We had people praying for ourselves. And I'm telling you, I could feel it when something went wrong. You send out a quick email and say, pray about this. And you could just feel God's power working through that.
Yeah.
It's, to me, prayer is the answer to all of it.
Amen. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, so how many years then in Ecuador?
We were in Ecuador for 6 years, and then the mission had been in Ecuador for over 100 years, and we felt that our work there was done. We were asked to lead a team to go to Spain, and with 6 other missionary families from Ecuador. And so we went home to Canada for a year to raise support. And we found out that our adopted son had fetal alcohol syndrome and just felt that we could not go to Spain because of that. So I called up the mission, told them we couldn't go to Spain, and basically resigned from the mission. They called me back 4 hours later and said, we need a mobilizer. Would you do that? So I talked to some of our supporters and our pastors and stuff, and they thought that might be a fit. And so we decided to do that, and I ended up doing that for 18 years.
When you are mobilized, when you're sitting across from someone, you're visiting a campus, a Bible school, you're visiting a church, and someone comes over to the table, the Avant table, and kind of poking away and looking, and what is the biggest, I don't want to say excuse, that's not fair. The biggest reason someone says, I don't think I can do mission. What's the biggest barrier?
I think for most people, it's 2 things. It's family. Either my parents don't want me to go, or I've got grandkids and I don't want to go, or all those kind of things. I think that's one of the biggest excuses I always heard, or they feel they're not qualified. And of course, raising support is a big one too. Yeah.
So we'll leave God to work on people's hearts about the family issue. But when someone says, I'm not qualified, what's your answer?
I said, God can use anybody. He used me, like grade 12 education, but worked at Canadian Tire for 15 years and then started farming. Like, he used me. He can use anybody.
Yeah. Friends, I want to encourage you, as I've got to know Tony over the years and his love for people, his love for the Lord, I want you to hear his story, because if you've got those things, I don't know about my family. I can't leave my family. I'm not qualified. I don't have the money. Not yet. Let me get the title right. Yet not I, but through Christ. Tony, how does someone get a copy of your book so they can hear your story of how God answered those questions, answered those problems, and brought you through all of those different challenges?
For now, I've just got it published this week. And if you want to contact me at probably the best way is email avand, VAND 2 at iCloud.com.
Right.
And glad to send you a copy.
AVAND 2 at iCloud.com to get Tony's book, Yet Not I, But Through Christ. Friends, like I said, every week I've been saying, God has a spot for you in mission. And you've heard just a just a taste of Tony's challenges with family, with children's health, with being qualified, with waiting 17 years. Are you kidding, Tony? We gotta. That's a long time to wait. That's like Joseph in being in slavery and in jail in Egypt. Long 17 years. But friends, God has a place for you. He wants you to share your story. He wants you to use your unique skills and abilities, even if it's a grade 12 education and some farming experience. There is a place for you in the Great Commission. Yet not I, but through Christ. Contact Tony today, avand2@icloud.com. Tony, we'll get you back on here, maybe share some more snippets from the book here once you kind of get it going there and people can get it, find it in more spots. But love your story. Love working with you in mission. God bless you, Tony.
Thank you, Tim. You too.
Well, friend, we're at the end of our program today, and you've been listening to Galcom's Mission Compass, your guide to the Great Commission. We really appreciate you joining us and would like to say thank you. Make a gift of any amount to Galcom and receive your copy of Tim Whitehead's new book, Love Personified, in which he explores how to love the people around you the way the great characters of the Bible did. Visit galcom.org and click Give. Fill in your contact info and we'll mail it out to you right away. If you enjoyed today's program, you can listen again at galcom.org or on your favorite streaming platform. Make sure to subscribe, follow, and share. There are many ways to partner with us. To find out more, visit our website at galcom.org. That's Galcom, spelled GALCOM.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'm Ron Harris. Thanks for joining us today on Mission Compass, a radio ministry of Galcom International.